Yes, this is the introduction, the new animation for the introduction of the show. We haven't actually picked a winner as the theme tune yet, so it is at the moment mute. So if you're listening to audio, just imagine a beautiful graphic happening at this very point in time. And it really is very special, and it's just about to finish now. Okay, there we are. So hello everybody, welcome to this Sonic Talk special. I suppose you could call this, this gets us a little bit closer to episode 400, sneakily, without having to do an extra week. This is a part of our NAMM coverage. NAMM 2015 has just passed. We've done 2 weeks sort of analysis, and we've also got guests from our editorial team here today to kind of wrap up some of the other stuff that we haven't actually had a chance to talk about yet. So I want to introduce to you 2 of our team. First of all, we've got Richard Beech here, who's guitars editor at Amped, who needs to turn notifications off on his phone because they're going to be going the whole time.
Is the chat window on the chat on the live stream, which I've now off. Well, I thought I turned it off.
I don't know whether you can. Right. Well, I do encourage. Richard, of course, is our guitars editor, but also you may recognise his visage from all the videos there on the guitar side from NAMM 2015. So, hello, Rich.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
And we've also got Ed Butterworth, who you probably may have seen if you've seen any of our modular stuff. Ed's been covering the modular stuff from NAMM, and he was basically running between 2 booths, upstairs and downstairs, where Schneider's being one, and what was the other one? Was it Big City Music?
No, it was the Muff Wigglers booth, but next to Muff Wigglers you had Pittsburgh and also Make Noise.
It was like a kind
of the other guys as well.
Modular city, if you like.
It was, yeah.
So, and we're mostly done with videos. There are a few more going up. In fact, I did spot the Alpha Sphere 3D, or I forget the name of it, went up just this very moment. So basically what we wanted to do is try and cover, because on the main podcast, obviously we've been talking a lot about the kind of more mainstream recording and tech and sort of synthesizer stuff, and not so much the modular. There's also something I should mention. Obviously the show is sponsored by Isotope, and there will be an ad playing, but we're not going to be doing a giveaway on this one, but I will show you the competition from yesterday's show, so if you didn't catch that, you'll be able to see it again today and hopefully enter. So I think they'll call that a tease. So Ed, I'm going to start with you, because this was your first NAMM. You've been to Music Messer.
Yeah.
What would you say the comparisons are like? Is there any comparison?
Oh, there's definitely a comparison. Music Messer is definitely a lot more chilled. And also, this was the first time I was doing stuff on my own. Before Music Messer, I've just filmed Rob on camera.
Who's another, out on the guitar side, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, because I'm kind of into the modular stuff, it was really nice to be able to cover that side of stuff. And obviously this year there was just like loads and loads of people showing new interesting things, so yeah, it was good.
And how did you find it?
Tiring.
Yeah, it is tiring. It's kind of quite overstimulating. I mean, that's the one thing that we find, it's like your short-term memory just vanishes. At least mine does. Did you find the same sort of effects?
Yes, I found especially when you're in a difficult situation and it's quite difficult to hear, and someone's telling you about something that's pretty complex, you tend to
glaze over.
And then you think, what did I just shoot? I can't remember anything. I like even the 2 minutes afterwards, you're saying thanks for the interview, and you're just like, I have no idea what I just shot. I don't even know what this module's called.
It's funny that, isn't it? But it's more of a self-preservation thing. I think it's kind of like the same thing that you get. It's like a basic animal instinct. It's like fight or flight. When you suddenly get a load of adrenaline, you just kind of, everything else goes. You're ready to run. And I think it must be something to do with that. Your brain shuts down and thinks, I've just got to function on breathing, not falling over, not hurting anybody by ill-advised movement. And so you just kind of, your brain just functions on the basic motor skills, and then after that it opens up again and you can remember. But it's a curious effect. Whereas
there was.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
There was a point when I first went to I think it was the Schneider's. Like that, the big one up in Hall A, the big modular booth in Hall A. When I first got there, and I didn't have anything booked. I didn't have anyone particular that I needed to see right then. So I kind of just
ran away.
stood there like, where do I go from here?
Yeah, exactly. So, Rich, for you, obviously, it was not your first NAMM. How many is it now? 5?
Yeah, this is year 5 for me, so
A
feel like a
veteran.
veteran. Yeah, a jaded veteran.
I met someone on the plane who'd done 30.
Really, I think by that point I probably would have either died or left the industry.
Well, you never know. I'm getting there. I'm
Uh,
hoping not to do either.
what I meant to say is by that point I was celebrating my long and vibrant career.
So, from your point of view, I mean, obviously, you cover mainly from the guitar side. What was your impressions this year in terms of that side of things?
Well, like I said, well, the jaded thing wasn't actually too far away from the truth. I did go to this show feeling a bit bored of seeing the same effects circuits in slightly different stomp boxes by slightly different companies. And I actually made a joke or a comment beforehand to quite a few people that, oh, this is going to be the year of the tremolo. And that was a complete joke. And I was really surprised when I got to NAMM and there were loads of amazing tremolo pedals, which was quite surprising because you would have thought you can't really do much more with tremolo than had already been done. So I actually thought it was a really great show. I saw lots of interesting things. A good trend was that there were much more I thought there were much more pedals at affordable prices that were perhaps in the boutique market, which shows that the boutique market's maybe getting its stuff together and is getting the distribution in place in order to actually drive down costs slightly and stuff like that, which is good. And I actually, my first synth arrived today, my first ever analog synth. So I actually got into that
to the
world.
dark side.
Turning to the dark side, so that's well. And that was, I mean, because you posted something, because Strymon, it's interesting. Strymon have been, it's almost like Strymon pedals got adopted more by synth players before guitarists, or at least, you'd hear a lot more about it from synth players than perhaps I would have from guitarists. And now, you had the opportunity to plug in, you did that video where you plugged the, what was it, the micro brute?
Yeah, so that's actually what I got in the end was a micro brute, and I actually I bought a Strymon Big Sky while I was in America, the reverb pedal as well. So that was what I actually did while I was at NAMM. I ran a micro brute into a Big Sky at the show just to see what it sounded like. Really impressed. And I think the thing you say about Strymon being picked up by synth players before. Sorry, I know synth players isn't the right phrase, but I'm still learning. Sorry. By synthesizer enthusiasts before it's picked up by guitarists was. It's probably a testament to the fact that synth guys have better taste in audio, and I don't know, maybe something to do with the pricing as well, but Strymon are just huge right now. I think their distribution is being improved, and they're only going to get bigger as well. So
is that because there's been a kind of guitarist, specific guitarist who's kind of gone, yeah, this is the pedal I use. That's sort of because quite often in the guitar world, it's very much artist led, perhaps not so much in the synth market.
Yeah, well, actually, no, weirdly, because they don't. Strymon are really specific about what they do with artists. They won't be seen to endorse any particular artist. They won't give free pedals to artists. If you're in the industry, you can quite often get free stuff, and I paid recommended retail price for the pedal that I brought. So I think that's actually a pretty clever way of doing business. And something interesting I found out is that every single person who works at Strymon is a former Line 6 employee, which I found really mind-blowing because they're two opposite ends of the digital market, really, the way they're perceived right now. So that was kind of shocking to me, and maybe it's just a case of lots of brilliant people who had brilliant ideas and maybe didn't get to do them as part of a huge company have now gone off and formed this splinter group, and they're really kind of kicking butt and taking names. So it's cool to see. And actually, I think the biggest market that they're involved in is probably the praise and worship market in America in terms of guitar stuff. So I think that real high end sound has helped them
Mm.
there as well, and those people have money to spend. So that's important.
I mean, the one thing I didn't really know, and this is something that certainly in the recording and the plugins and that side of things, Shark DSP chips are the things that kind of power a lot of the high powered DSP stuff in that area. And as far as I'm aware, the Strymon stuff is Shark based as well. So it's these are kind of very high end custom real-time DSP chips that I'm trying to think who put. I think it was TC Electronic used to put them in their stuff, and they go in various other things as well. And they really are kind of. I think the Sharks might even be in the Universal Audio Power plugins products as well. So I don't know if they're the same chip or whether they're the same family of chips, but obviously I think it's fair to say that Line 6, generally speaking, their stuff is more about emulation of classic gear and classic combinations than kind of really far out. Although they do have far out stuff, it's not their core kind of thing. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. Line 6 is one of those interesting companies that probably cross over into somewhere between the amp side of Sonic and the tech side. They seem to have interest on both of our channels, but yeah, I guess they emulate stuff. If that's the kind of thing you're after, then fair enough. But the other problem is there are also other companies that do that. They do products that cost more, like AxeFX, which is getting a lot of popularity, and the Kemper profiling amp, which cost a fair amount of money, but I think there's a certain market that Line 6 aim at. They hit it, and absolutely fair enough. It's just a different market to the one that's probably growing fastest right now on the guitar side of things.
Oh, that's true. And actually, we did have a Kemper upgrade, the version 3, and Kemper they've targeted name producers who just kind of go, I've profiled all my wacky and broken but great sounding amplifiers into here so that I can use them wherever I are. They've really kind of seemed to have nailed that, and they're big in a lot of guitar studios, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, they are. Any pitch you see of a studio now tends to have a Kemper in there. They're really cool things. So why not? If you've got the money and you actually earn a living from doing that sort of thing, then why not? But I don't gig and I don't record people anymore, sadly. Even though I'd very much like to. So I can't really justify having one around, because to me it would just be a cool piece of kit I have for making music, and I don't do anything commercially, so to me it's pointless. But yeah,
great for reamping and what have you. That seems to be the kind of the main trend that it seems to work on. You record clean and record through the Kemper as well. And Ed, in terms of the modular side, I mean, obviously we saw a massive explosion. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and I get the sense that there are more modular, maybe the same number of modular manufacturers, but they've somehow been beavering away and actually making a living, which means they can afford to come to places like NAMM and work on even more things. So that is a very positive outlook for the entire area of that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially with lots of companies kind of making really exciting new, not necessarily analog, but digital stuff, and just really weird stuff that you just don't think of in terms of being a module. And I think it's quite good as a reaction to lots of the big companies reissuing old synths.
I think you might be talking about something specifically. I mean, obviously Korg have been doing it, and interestingly enough, oops, excuse me, wrong shot. Interestingly enough, the Odyssey seems to have it had a massive, because you were at Mesa last year when we thought it might be there, and there was lots of people going, have you seen the Odyssey, is it going to be here, it's going to be here, and there was this huge amount of interest and excitement about it. But the actual launch, as we discussed on yesterday's show, seemed to be a bit of a kind of yeah, okay, great, it's here, and that was sort of it. It's very curious. Whereas now with these sort of other more innovative guys, there's more excitement. I mean, what do you think the more sort of innovative digital side is? Because I mean, I didn't see a lot of that there because it was just not where I was.
I mean, the Waldorf NW1, when I first heard that announced, I thought, oh, another wavetable oscillator, because there's lots already on the market by different manufacturers. But actually, once I went and heard it, and you can also record your own wavetables into it, which is really cool. It kind of blew my mind a bit. I was like, yeah, man, this sounds really good. So
you can record your own wavetables in. So it's got
Yes.
sample. It's got sample RAM, or you drop them in via USB or whatever.
I think you can just record audio directly into it.
Oh right,
I think.
that's interesting. So does that mean we're getting into kind of it'll do granular stuff as well as wavetable stuff because it's going to take little slices? There's a question for you.
I don't know how small the wavetable can go, or how long it can be either.
Andy in the chat room, Andy Keys in the chat room, just has titled as a post said USB. So it may well be that you fire it in digitally like that, because I'm sure there must be a finite amount. I mean, I imagine it's going to be quite a small amount of RAM, and if you're trying to record,
I think it's only 8 megabytes. I think.
Oh right, he says 20. But this is going to be It's going to be a battle of the stats. I could look it up.
I'm sure he said to me 8 megabytes, but maybe he was wrong on a day. Stefan.
NW1. Right, let's have a look. Is that what it's called? NW1 overview. Let's see what this says about it, just out of interest. I think I've got a video that wavetable synthesis, Euro rack. Specifications. Let's have a look. It does look very nice. It's got that kind of wave vibe to it. I mean, does it sound significantly different to just, I don't know, say the Blofeld or any of those things? Is it just wavetable?
I mean, it's just wavetables, but it's just a lot of nice control that they've kind of ported from the kind of same controls that you can get on their Nave app. Are now CVable through the module.
It's a big old module, though, isn't it? 32 HP.
Yeah.
I mean, that rather suggests that we're going to start seeing, or need to see, some pretty cool and more cost-effective case solutions. Because I mean, you've got, a lot of the modules that we have seen are fairly enormous.
Yeah, I think that's been. I've noticed that recently as well. Is that a lot of companies are releasing stuff that is big. And they're not so worried about size, which is good if you can afford to buy a new case or build a new case. But if you can't, then maybe it's not so good.
And
then also, I think people are releasing bigger stuff, which is deeper, so you have more functions on it.
Is there a crossover here with the pedalboard market, because that's another thing that has got huge with Salvage Custom Shop and Temple Audio, Pedal Train. A lot of people coming up with solutions, making a lot of money out of it. Could those companies step into that game?
Create cases that you could put Eurorack stuff into?
Yeah,
I guess it's
for the floor.
They've got the means to do it, and they've got the distribution and the obviously the ability in house to be able to create that sort of thing.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I mean, I think we're going to see, even though Eurorack, we're already saying is huge already, I think it's going to become even bigger this year, because I'm anticipating we're going to see some of the main manufacturers kind of moving in and start, because you can't see a market like that expanding and go leave it too late. I mean, what would be awesome if Yamaha did? That would be really interesting, because they've got absolutely no history of anything modular, and it would be a good time for them to jump in. But I mean, I can't see that ever likely to happen. But it would be these are the sort of opportunities that are presenting themselves.
Yeah, and so somebody in the chat room just Gloomstar just asked where you would even start with modular. So that's a question I think.
Yeah, I started with a Tip Top Audio Happy Ending kit, which is kind of just like a bare bones sort of rack which is a 19-inch rack that you could fit into a regular rack. And that cost probably, I think, once I got it, because I ordered it from, there wasn't anywhere to buy it in the UK at that point, and I ordered it from Schneider's, and I think it came to around £130.
Oh, right.
So that's just one row. But also, you can buy the power supply for something like that with just a which would do like one row. You could buy just the power supply and the rails, and then just build your own enclosure.
And of course,
I've seen people do it with cardboard and stuff, just kind of making cardboard ends and then and sticking the rails on it. So I think there's a lot of worry, and that is kind of like the off-putting thing with Modular is that, I have to buy a case, I have to there's a lot to think about before you get started, before you buy your first module. But actually, once you do, buy a power supply and some rails, it's not really that much to think about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we have seen also is there's a lot of modular manufacturers are creating kind of just complete units. So you've got the Pittsburgh stuff, you've got the Boom Mod, is it Modstar, which is a complete system in one go. Pittsburgh have done a number of those, and that seems to be another. So starter kits seems to be a big way of going as well. I mean, did you see anything there at the show that that really floated your boat as a complete system? That's a big good place to start.
Complete system. I mean, I've never really been that interested in complete systems because I don't know. I think the beauty of modular stuff is that you don't start with something. Nobody told you that your synth's going to have these oscillators, this filter, etc. But the Boomstar stuff sounded really good. It was really thick and meaty.
Yeah, I mean, those oscillators do sound fantastic. I mean, that was the one thing for me when I reviewed the Boomstar, which I've just got sat on the desk here. It just, the raw stuff sounds good, and that's the thing that it seems to be. You can really tell the difference, and I don't know whether I guess in many ways, Rich, it's kind of a bit like when you get a great sounding guitar, just the raw instrument itself has a certain something about it that is a great starting point.
Yeah, I think the parallel between the growth of the modular market and the growth of the pedal market and the guitar side of things is kind of symptomatic of the fact that maybe people can't go out and spend a huge amount of money straight away on an entire rig. I don't know many people that could have just gone out and bought a really expensive guitar, a really expensive amplifier, and maybe just one distortion pedal, like may have been done in the past. But now that you can buy, you can build your tone in small sections, and it seems like it's really similar on the synth side of things. So I don't know if for me, obviously on the guitar side, a guitar would be the starting place, and you would build from there. But I kind of now I know no matter what guitar I plug into my rig, I'm always going to have this certain bank of pedals. If I want to upgrade my distortion pedal and get a more expensive one, then I can sell mine. When I've got a little bit of extra money, I can buy another one. I imagine it's the same in the modular world. You're probably just always aiming for something you're probably never even going to achieve, but it's fun to have something you can chop and change. So it makes total sense to me why both of those markets are proliferating massively right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just bringing it back to sort of the whole NAMM question. I mean, one of the things that is clear is this trend towards small, innovative companies, which it's a massive breath of fresh air, because I mean, I think as consumers stepping outside of the electronic music market or the music market, we're probably all a bit sick of large multinational corporations just telling us what we have to do and how we do it, and then ripping us off for tax and all of those things. I mean, there's something really nice and kind of homespun notion about it, and I know that was something that you saw at NAMM, which was the Little Thunder pedal, which I might just play a little bit of, and then perhaps we can comment about it.
Yeah, not a pedal, a pickup.
Pickup, that's right. Yes, you're absolutely right. And this is where my video system will play. I press the button a load of times and it keeps coming in. So just wait for it to catch up. There it goes. Obviously, our valued sponsors are going to be at the front of all our videos. I hope this is the right video. Let me see. Universal Audio there, and
hey, Richard Beech here from SonicState.com. I'm at NAMM 2015, day one, about to look at one of the products that kind of has most buzz about it. A lot of people are really excited about this, and this is the first time that I'm actually getting to hear it in the flesh, as it were. So, Andy Out, can you tell us about the product, some of the changes that have been made to it since perhaps people first knew about A Little Thunder when you released the videos online?
Sure. Thank you for coming by.
It's okay. Lean back.
Here called A Little Thunder. It's a guitar pickup that you can put in any guitar, and it adds a bass signal to the guitar. I've always felt like the guitar had this potential to add a lot more sonic depth, but for some reason it was just like it never really had that deep, low growl. So anyway, on our final version of this product, which is right here, you get all 6 guitar strings, but when you touch, and this is cool, it's capacitive touch. When you touch the bottom, you get a bass signal on the bottom 2 strings. So check it out. So, you know, since we launched our Kickstarter really in late October, we amassed, it was kind of interesting, a lot of interest around the idea. Different genres, jazz players wanted to come.
I'm not going to play the whole thing, but that to me, that seems to generate a lot of interest, and it's just a sort of really neat idea. How does it actually work with the outputs? Do you need multiple amps, or can you merge the signals back in? How does that work? Because it's got a separate output, right, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, so you have 2 options. You can run a stereo cable out, which you can then obviously run to 2 separate effects banks, 2 separate amplifiers, whatever you want to do. So that's one option. The other option is to just run it out mono, and I guess that would end up sounding more like an octave pedal. But obviously you've only got the octave. It's like having an octave pedal that only works on the first 2 strings of your guitar. So I must confess that actually I've ordered one of these, and Andy, the guy who developed it, is shipping it over right now. So hopefully I'm expecting it to arrive soon and I can review it, and probably going to put it in the Jazzmaster that I recently bought, the Fender Modern Player Jazzmaster. So yeah, it's a really interesting product, and I'm thinking about perhaps obviously sending it out to 2 separate signals, bass amp and a guitar amp, doing some different effects with the bass side, just to make it sound again a bit to make it sound like a different signal to the guitar side. So I don't know if I can play around with latency and stuff like that, just to make it sound a little bit less like an octave pedal. But I don't know. I'll have to wait until I get my hands on it, really.
And does it just output the signal, the octaved signal? It doesn't split or do you get both, sort of the upper octave and the lower octave, if you see what I mean? The original sound of it and the wet sound.
Yeah. So how I understand it works is that from your stereo signal, you would get the guitar signal would go to the right hand side, and the bass signal would go to the left. So there would be 2 completely isolated signals.
Ah, got you. It's going to really, I mean, if this sort of thing had been around, you know, when the White Stripes and the, is it Royal,
Royal
Blood?
Yeah. Just said Royal Blood guitar. So, yeah, exactly. You know, it would, if they could get one of these to Royal Blood before they write their next album, then, you know, maybe there's a potential for a huge endorsement there.
And what does that actually cost, the Little Thunder?
Off the top of my head, it's something like maybe $180 or something like that. I paid for it at NAMM, and there was a special deal on. Again, I'm actually this is an endorsement where I'm actually paying for the product rather than just asking if I can blag one for free. So
must try harder.
Yeah. But no, I do really like it, and they're a new company, and I want to support them with.
Wow,
with
yeah, they've doubled their Kickstarter startup, haven't they? So it doesn't say it's one. Hold on, let's have a look. $25 or more. Let's see what the actual. I mean, this is a guess. So for $199, you get a pickup. So it's going to be around that area, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that looks pretty neat. Okay, so Ed, over to you. I mean, you did the Modular Awards and stuff. I mean, that just seems like a really brilliant idea that immediately, I mean, it appeals across the board because you just go, hey, that's cool. If I play guitar, I'd like one of those. Have you got a similar kind of product in on the module or the synth side?
I mean, there's stuff that kind of, I can't really think of anything right now.
I've got him.
You caught me out.
Excellent. But I mean, that in terms of what you saw, just generally speaking, was there something that just impressed you generally? I mean, I know you were you were very keen on the Waldorf, but any other stuff?
I liked the make noise stuff. I thought that sounded really good, especially that they had like that 3 like a 3 voice additive synth module, which was pretty cool. Yeah, so Azio Heads just said the mutable instruments modules. They're really, really cool. They weren't at NAMM. I did actually try to contact Olivia, sorry.
Yeah.
But he didn't go to NAMM in the end.
That's a shame.
But yeah, the mutable instruments stuff is really kind of out there and exciting.
And that's DSP based stuff in many cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I mean, I reviewed their MIDI to CV interface, and that was just kind of like there was just so much stuff in it, and that's kind of seems to be a running theme with all of their modules, is that they, that it looks like something quite regular, something quite obvious, and then once you get into it, there's just so many different like hidden Easter eggs and what have you.
Yeah.
So I think as a company, I think Mutable Instruments are one to really look out for.
Yeah, I mean, it seems certainly on the synthesizer side. I mean, obviously we got great excitement from the the Modular Massive one, which is just a recreation of the 1960s models, and then we've got the Dave Smith Prophet 6, which has the analog VCOs. But where the real excitement seems to be coming, or certainly has been, is the idea of figuring out new ways of controlling analog equipment with digital control. I mean, certainly I've got the MFB Dominion over here, and I think there's a lot of digital control of analog circuitry there, because the VCOs and the VCF are obviously voltage control, but it's the way that they actually then control it and the things that you can do with that's sort of quite exciting.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's heading. For me, that's the most exciting thing, is new stuff, really. I'm not really when I started my modular synth, I kind of wanted an analog sound, and then once I got into it and kind of got more into the modular stuff, and then especially recently, I've just kind of thought that's not really the most interesting thing. The most interesting thing is all the digital stuff that's coming out and all the digitally controlled stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose on the guitar side, I mean, it's still, obviously the guitars are analog source, so I mean, that's why you're gonna get less of that. Although we got DSP based effect. I mean, we talked about Strymon already in that sense. I mean, any other business from you in terms of guitar products? I know that there were several things that really kind of got you going at NAMM, Rich.
Yeah, so there's one thing which I heard, and in my new sort of headspace as a wannabe synth guy, I thought, I'd really love to plug a synth into that, and that was the cattle inbred Antichthon, and the video
that thing was really crazy.
It is really crazy, and I've showed it to people, and they either absolutely hate it or absolutely love it, and it's basically a fuzz circuit that does a load of crazy things depending on the input volume. So you can use your volume knob on your guitar to change a rate of a tremolo, or it ends up sounding like a tremolo, which is really cool. And the description that Howard from Cattle and Bread gave me in the video was quite funny. I'd never heard the pedal when we were making the video. I'd heard about the product, but I think
that deserves. I've got this here. Let me just play this and see what happens. I hope our sponsors will forgive me, but I guess this counts as internal use.
At NAMM 2015, I'm at the Cattle and Bread booth with Howard, and we're about to look at a pedal. And in the madness of NAMM, all I've seen is just literally a photo of this on the guy's Facebook page. So I haven't heard it. I've been told that I should be nervous and excited about it. First of all, what does Antichthon mean as a word?
I think I might fast forward this because I know that it goes on for a really long time, Rich.
It does, and it was just, the comments in the video are just like, there were people who tweeted me saying your face at 1 minute whatever is hilarious, and I had no idea what it was going to sound like, and I don't think he actually played it for about 3 minutes.
Let's see if we can find him playing some.
Let's go ahead and put on your spacesuits and
let's do it. I'm so intrigued.
So you're hearing a tremolo sound now.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of fuzz attached to it. So far, pretty good, but pay attention to the knob here.
It
gets different textures.
Oh, I see. So basically, it responds to the level that goes into it and various different parameters. It's not just tremolo, though, right?
No, I mean, it is a fuzz pedal, and you can make it sound like, a maestro, or you can make it sound a bit like a fuzz face, and that's really cool. But then you can make it. If you watch that video, he makes kind of like whale noises with it that end up. I just think I'd put in the description, like, end up sounding like you put a jet engine in a lawnmower. So like it oscillates from sounding like a whale to sounding like it's a jet engine, crossed with a chainsaw, crossed with a lawnmower, and you can do all these crazy things with it, and it reacts completely differently, like you say, depending on the input signal. So if you put a Les Paul in there with hot humbuckers, it'll sound different to if you put a Strat in there. If you put a synth in there, which is a much hotter signal, I can't wait to hear what it sounds like. And Howard, this is another product from NAMM that is arriving at my house soon. So that will arrive. I will plug a guitar and a synth into it and have some fun with it. So I just thought it was really refreshing. It was really inventive, and I heard a few people say, well, it's not that usable, and actually the quality of fuzz sounds you can get from it for the price, which off the top of my head wasn't massive. It was something like 160 USD. It's a great fuzz pedal at the very worst, and at the very best, it's something you can be very inventive with and have a lot of fun with. So don't listen to the haters. That's a really cool product.
Yeah, I actually showed it to a friend of mine because I thought, this was a really interesting product that I saw, or that I saw your video of, and at first he was just like, yeah, it can do that kind of dying dolphin sound, and is that really that great? But then we played through the video, and he started hearing all these really nice sounding, like just distortions, fuzz sounds.
Yeah.
And that I guess that's what you could sell it on. It almost kind of had an element of what's that? The ZVEX Fuzz Factory.
Yeah.
Because of that kind of like really, it can do the crazy sort of fuzz sounds as well as kind of just a nice sounding fuzz.
I actually think with this pedal, they've out the ZVEX to ZVEX, because it is a lot of the ZVEX stuff is quite lo-fi, and that's cool, but this pedal does lo-fi and also very high quality, desirable fuzz.
I always found the Fuzz Factory pretty difficult to use or to fit anywhere. It sounded great on its own, but to try and get it into a track, especially in the studio, was just kind of almost impossible, really.
Oh, that's interesting. Which kind of ties in with what people in the chat room are saying about, did you get to play with the Moog System 55 modular system? Because obviously we talked about this yesterday, but I mean, it's a fairly kind of bold reissue. I mean, I know that there's a lot of hype surrounding it, and they probably sold them all, and they're massively expensive and all of those things. But did you actually get to play with any of that Moog stuff, Ed?
I had a quick wiggle, but it wasn't. I really don't like the kind of the environment of a show to get to know a synth.
No,
you kind of
really
have
ideal.
like a few minutes on something and just kind of oh yeah, that sounds good, that fiddle sounds nice, but there's not really any scope to kind of get to know something. So I mean, I can't say, yeah, it would be great to have a Moog modular, but I don't have the money and I don't have the space at all. It's just.
Do you think we're going to see some Eurorack action from Moog? I mean, it's I noticed how I tried to say Moog properly there, just because I remembered I should.
Do I think? I mean, is there any point? I don't really see apart from it being branded Moog, I don't really see the point of doing it. I mean, I guess they would probably sell. They would probably sell them. I can imagine people would buy them, but there's so many copies of Moog stuff out there, and there's actually this. I think this week I just saw a new company who have released a complete line of Eurorack modules based on the Moog Model D. Right,
that's interesting. Yeah, because I suppose it's kind of been often copied because it's just not been available. But I suppose you've got to think that Dave Smith has started to release his Eurorack stuff, and those aren't kind of just a Dave Smith filter. They've got a little bit of a twist, a bit of a like the DSM-01 Curtis filter. I've got that there, and that's got a VCA in it, which is actually quite useful. So you've got extra bits and bobs. I mean, those are the sort of things. I mean, are there sorry,
but that stuff kind of comes from the copies as well, because I've got a tip-top copy of, I can't remember what filter it is, the Z2040, which I think that's a sequential, that's a Curtis chip filter, I think, and that has all the kind of that has a VCA and control over resonance, and so I think, I don't know, other companies can do that. It's not that exciting for me.
No, okay. Do you think? I mean, this is the other thing that's because for me, in terms of the Eurorack I've got here, what I need to put in it. I feel sort of like I don't really think LFOs and envelopes are things that I should get, because I could control those digitally from either from other systems or from something like Expert Sleepers, that side of thing. So do you think that there's going to be maybe a move away from the utilitarian functioning modules like that, and going to challenge people to make more out there and more unusual sounding things for Europe, for that format?
Yes, and I think there's a lot of companies now are kind of building into their product, attenuverters, and kind of they're building the utilities into their modules. So their module can do X, Y, and Z, but it can also do all the utility functions as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the Korg MS-20 desktop, which I've got over there in a box kit, which I'm going to have to find time to build at some point, they've included those sort of things. So they've got mults in there, they've got sort of converters from 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch for Eurorack connection, and they've sort of been tweaking those sort of side of things. So I mean, I suppose even them, and that's a classic remake. Effectively, they've sort of taken the opportunity to actually tinker a little bit. So that would make sense.
Yeah, I think that would.
And so, Rich, in terms of, I mean, we've talked about pedals and that side of things. What about actual guitars and actual amps? I know people in the chat room have been mentioning the 65 amps, Little Whiskey. And did you see anything else there that really kind of floated your boat? I know that you were talking about Panama, which we sadly couldn't get a video from, but.
Yeah, the Panama thing was regrettable because one of the guys who helped design it, Beer, Masad, he's the guitarist in Dorge, which is Rob Chapman's band, and he also works with Chapman Guitars. He's a really cool guy, and he's sort of a friend of Sonic State, and we went along, and you do these things at NAMM where you go along because somebody has released a product, and you think, well, we'll kind of help you guys out by or we'll try and help you guys out by filming it. So we went over there not really knowing what to expect. There wasn't a lot of info online, not a lot of demos online. And me and Rob, the cameraman for Amped,
and he's a real tube head, isn't he? He's really.
Yeah, he's I bow down to his knowledge on tube stuff, really. And we both just heard this little amplifier called the Fuego, 15-watt dual channel amplifier, and we're both sort of blown away by it. And I could see him filming the top panel of the amp as it was being played, and I was making the eyes at him like, this is awesome, and we're both getting quite excited about it. And then I think Beer, the demonstrator and the co-designer, came out and just said, oh yeah, this retails for like $499 and for a handmade guitar in Panama, which is a pretty cool place. Handmade amp in Panama, which is a pretty cool place for something to be made. That is just a great price. 2 channels, sounds great. Clean channel was great. The distortion channel was great as well. So really excited about that. They also had a 4-channel 100-watt amp that unless you're touring arenas, you might not have much use for. But that it sounded great at 4 very different sounding channels as well. So I think they're a company to watch out for. They're called Panama Guitars, even though they make amplifiers. They also make high quality cabs, and that is the one thing at NAMM you're never sure of, is that the cabs that the amps were coming through were obviously very high end, very expensive, and a lot of time and effort been put into developing them. So you kind of hope that you get the amp head back home and that it sounds the same through your rig. But I use an Egnater Rebel 20, which is not massively different to the Fuego amplifier, and I'm thinking of maybe chopping that in and going with the Fuego, because even though I'll be sacrificing 5 watts of power, it has 2 channels, which means more flexibility. So that was cool. The Lil Whiskey from 65 amps, which is a smaller version of the Whiskey they released last year. My mind's gone blank on wattage, but it's a much smaller version, so you can get the whole point of the Whiskey was that you could get those kind of 80s Hollywood distortion sounds, but with the Lil Whiskey you can get those at lower volumes, which is cool, and obviously it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more compact. And to be honest, everything that 65 amps do is always brilliant. Dan Ball is a bit of a genius, and just chatting to him at NAMM, you learn so much. I learned so much just, being in a room with him for 30 minutes and talking about stuff. The care and attention he put into the color bender and the color face and the color bender fuzz pedals they've done is just phenomenal. The perfect way to approach creating a pedal, in my opinion. And yeah, they're always doing brilliant stuff. It's quite expensive, but that's the only downside. In terms of guitars, I actually specifically kind of went to the show wanting to find innovative pieces of gear. So weirdly, as a guitarist, guitars weren't massively on my radar. And I'm the kind of person who has a lot of kind of mid-range guitars rather than going for really expensive ones. So I've always been more into the gear side anyway. I've sacrificed the quality of my guitars slightly so that I can build a cool rig. So didn't see loads of amazing stuff, but there was an interesting 8-string Ibanez guitar with fanned frets. I find the fanned fret system interesting if you're into that sort of thing. It basically means that you have a longer scale on the lower strings and a shorter scale on the high strings.
So they kind of go like that?
Yeah, they're like slanted frets. They're nothing new, but I think Ibanez might be the first people to have done them, the first big company to have done them on 7 or 8-string guitars, which means that particular market of gent and metal players and stuff are quite excited about it. And also it's cool that there's a Matt Bellamy signature guitar that's available to the public, but it doesn't have a Chaos pad in it, so what's the point?
What's the point in that? I have to say, at the mention of 65 amps, I seem to recall there was a party perhaps that both of you arrived at, and I would like to say at this point that Ed, not having ever been to NAMM before, I guess let off a bit of steam, but I mean generally the party. I mean, because there's always that party, isn't there? The party that Johnny Depp goes to, which you managed to get tickets to, Rich, and you kind of I don't know whether you let the side down by letting a sort of synth imposter into the room or not. I suspect I do recall there was some sort of kerfuffle, but I perhaps leave that to your expert.
Well, Rich, you say what you remember of it, and I'll say what I remember of it, maybe.
Okay, so what I remember is turning up at a Catholic boys' school, which is slightly incriminating, in the dead of night, and being led through these various paths, ending up at an assembly hall in which a band with a very foxy female guitarist and singer was playing at the time, and yeah, so we started watching this show, and we knew that Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper were going to be playing. It's a show called the Imperial Ball. It's a charity event run by 65 Amps and Duesenberg Guitars, and we never know which charity it is, but it's probably some sort of like Rockstar Rehab, rehab for old rockers, and yeah, and then Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper came on and started playing Beatles covers, and Ed, by this point, who had had a few beers like myself,
a fair few beers,
started shouting profanities, and
I don't think I was that rude, was I?
The best.
I was kind of in I was kind of in split personality, because I would shout obscenities at them and then dance, and then headbang, get my hair out and headbang.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which really pleased all the sort of like the valley dwelling posh people that were at the show. They loved Ed's headbanging. The best bit was when Alice Cooper said something along the lines of like, I can't believe I'm still rocking, I'm too old for this. And Ed shouted something like, you're not too old, mate. It's a wonder you're still alive, or like you should be dead, or something like that.
Rock royalty.
Yeah, Ed meant to be funny, but it came out slightly wrong.
I would like to point out in your defence, both of you, that Saturday night is traditionally the Sonic party night. So we had begun the evening with a healthy dose of margaritas around the Marriott pool bar before you went to the party, and that was probably, that's always a recipe for something unusual happening. And I think Ed, you certainly fulfilled your role as the first time NAMMer and maxed it out. But it's interesting, isn't it? There's something about the whole notion of this kind of LA rock royalty that sort of untouchable and uncriticisable, and particularly when you combine, the Hollywood royalty of what's his face, Johnny Depp, and the playing ability, because we all know he can play guitar and is in bands and what have you. There's something kind of particularly untouchable. And I'm glad to see you flew the flag for Sonic, although I'm not sure you were specifically identified as an employee at that time.
I think I think in Ed's defence, and like Ed said, he was having split personality disorder, and he went from loving it to hating it. It is kind of weird to see people like Alice Cooper, who is iconic for such a specific thing, and people like Johnny Depp, who I think 2 days previously to doing that show had come out and said, "I hate it when film stars try to be rock stars," and there he is, like on stage playing Beatles songs.
It just didn't really make any sense to me. It kind of just felt really wrong. Everything about it felt kind of just a bit like, ooh, just a bit cringy. But then I did enjoy it. It was strange.
Well,
yeah, I think my colleague Rob would have enjoyed it a lot more, because Rob has a much lower cheese filter, where I think Ed's cheese radar was like going off. It was like it was a pungent, mature cheddar.
A pungent odor. I suppose I should actually. I did mean to say that I was going to do the ad, and I will do now, because obviously we want to say thank you to our sponsors, and I'll play the video, and then we'll mention the competition that you can also enter. So remember, this is more on the synthesizers. Isotope Iris comes with 11 gigabytes of sample library to get you started. Iris 2, of course, the advancement of the excellent spectral synthesizer, now comes with it's got 4 separate sample slots, not limited to a sub or a fixed wave, that you can mix and match as you like. We've got 5 LFOs, 5 envelopes, MIDI expression controllers, and macro controllers as well. There's lots of stuff that you can modulate. You can see you get great feedback there, and the sound of it is really quite astonishing. They're very, very warm and fat sounding. Master filter, multi-mode master filter. You've also got obviously the spectral analysis stuff, and the ability to flatten out certain harmonics and emphasize them and draw and do all sorts of stuff. Different looping points. You can drag and drop your own samples directly into it as well. Very much this ad is pushing more the sort of traditional synth sound. It really does sound amazing, though you can do some incredible sound design for it as well. Iris 2, if you want to check that out, everything comes from there. Download a free 10-day trial, isotope.com/iris. Very worth doing, I would say. And also, if you're a regular listener to the regular podcast slot, which is usually on a Wednesday at 4 p.m, which we stream live and have a chat room as well, you can also win a copy of Iris 2. In fact, we announced this competition yesterday, but I didn't have the graphics, so this time I'm going to show you the graphics. So if you haven't already entered, you can win Iris 2 by tweeting out rhythmic patches, the hashtag rhythmic patches, to @SonicState. We've just recently changed our handle from Sonic Nick to Sonic State, seems more appropriate. And Isotope Inc. You tweet that only, and you will enter the competition. But obviously you've got 140 characters there, so feel free to add some additional comments. We always like to see it, and I can honestly say that Isotope do monitor this and read it, so anything you want to say to them, obviously in a good way, you can, or to us, so I see it too. So please do enter. I want to say thank you very much to Isotope for sponsoring the show, and I once again, what tends to happen when we're on a roll talking about NAMM, I've put it in the end of the show, which is perhaps not the ideal slot, but you could be. And while you're actually, if you're still here, even subscribe to us on YouTube, because we post a lot of stuff. I think we posted something approaching 120 videos from NAMM, which is awesome work by these two guys here and the rest of the team. And there's still some to go up. And also we've got obviously reviews and features and all of those things coming up as well. So please do stay tuned for that. So, sorry, who was that? Ed or Rich?
That was Rich.
Rich.
Is this
the end of the show?
Well, it feels like we're getting towards that. But if you've got more stuff to add, then now's the time to pop it in, because I don't
want to bore everybody, but one thing I did want to say is actually thanks to everybody who watched the videos, and this year maybe just, I don't know, maybe because I felt brave enough to actually read YouTube comments for once. People were saying some really nice stuff about our coverage of the show, and believe it or not, that's actually kind of way bigger in terms of a reward than any financial reward, which, because
that's lucky.
Because I work for it, is barely anything at all. And with buying all the gear that I see as well, I probably come back poorer than I actually go out there. But yeah, it's really great when people say nice things, and thanks for watching it.
Absolutely, yeah, no, done a great job, definitely. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add as well, Eddie. I mean, because I know we probably haven't covered nearly everything that there was. I mean, that's the nature of a show.
I'm sure there's definitely more that we could have covered, but I guess that's the nature of it. Top YouTube commenter, our favourite commenter, has got to be MC Kennick. If he's out there listening, we love you, man. Keep commenting our videos, because it puts a smile on my face every single time I read your comments.
Good. I think that
even when he's being, even if he's trying to be, even if it's something that he doesn't like, he just can't be negative. It's just awesome.
He'll find a nice way to be negative.
Yeah.
Which, actually, if you are out there, MC Kennick, could you follow my personal YouTube account as well? Because I could really do with some
positive,
nice people there as well. But yeah, anyone who kind of, even people who watch the videos and say kind of critical stuff, but actually back it up rather than just who's this douchebag on the video. That's always nice. But this feels like a bit of a love-in now. But I guess the one thing I would say about NAMM is that it was great to see this year so many little companies doing really well, and I think I feel way more positive about the industry after NAMM 2015, and in a way that shows that the rapid development in technology is actually coming from the smaller companies rather than the big companies that have the huge research and development departments. So it's interesting. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are a few of the big companies on the guitar side of things that I know have the capabilities to be putting out interesting products because they have the people in-house, but they were almost completely silent at NAMM. So I don't think too many NAMMs can go past without those companies releasing interesting products and still maintain their reputation that they have. So as I said, no names, but it's cool to see little companies doing well.
Absolutely, I would totally agree with that. And like I say, it's very positive that we're seeing small and innovative companies kind of being able to do interesting things. I mean, and somehow get them to market and what have you. And they're obviously doing well enough to be able to be at these places. And of course, if there is Mesa coming up, which is not long now. It's sort of 6 or 8 weeks, until Music Mesa.
And also Dance Fair.
Yes, absolutely.
Next week.
Dance Fair. Ed is going to Holland, where he will be at the Dance Fair, where there is actually also not only artists, but there's quite a lot of exhibitors, and the Schneiders have got a booth there as well, haven't they, Ed? So you're going to be in heaven. So we're working hard to try and figure out how to make it not just the same again, even though we are obviously brilliant, but we're going to try and get a bit more sort of in depth and other interesting things, and we're working hard with Ed to kind of make that happen. But I
think. Sorry, going back to what Rich was saying about it's nice to see the small companies doing so well, and what you were saying about that is. It's so nice, especially within these small modular guys, is the amount of collaboration. All these different small companies are kind of working on stuff together, and I think that's really positive. Everyone's really nice, and I think that can only be a good thing if all these companies are kind of working together to create new and exciting things.
Yeah, I think that's a very positive thing indeed. So I think that probably brings us to the end of this Sonic Talk NAMM kind of guitar and module special. I hope your cup of NAMM is probably overflowing now. So now you just need to go and head back to the Sonic. There's still probably, if you haven't seen all 115, 20 videos, then now's the time to start. I think it probably comes to about 4 or 5 hours of content. So you could spend a day looking at that. So and I hope you enjoy it. But thank you very much, Rich, for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time out. And we're looking forward to the next big show.
yeah, can't wait until Messe, and I can't wait to have some Frankfurters.
Yes, there is that. And Ed, Rich hasn't been to Frankfurt for a while, so Ed, I'm sure maybe we'll be able to take him to that excellent African restaurant we went to last time, or perhaps not.
The worst dining experience of my life.
Yeah, well, all of those things. I mean, as ever, we'll be doing live blogs and all of that kind of stuff. But stay tuned, because we will have some features from Dance Fair, and that's it. Anyway, thanks very much to our contributors. Actually, thank you very much to the rest of the team that brought you NAMM, and also thank you very much to our sponsors of NAMM, and also the sponsor of this show, Isotope. We very much appreciate it. So thank you very much, and that's it. We're going to sign off now. See you later.